Hey guys, how you doing? It's Pastor Jake. Just coming to you. It's April 14th. I wanted to bring a devotional, and today I'd like to ask the question, do you trust God? Do you have faith? Are you putting your faith in God? Are you drawing near to God? And specifically the question is in these times of uncertainty. James 1 says it to count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds. And the reason is for this because it tests and it builds our faith. See, it tests our faith. It's one thing to proclaim. It's easy to say, yes, I trust God in all things. But it's a completely different thing to have that proclamation tested through a trial, a difficulty, because it exposes our hearts. It shows us where our hearts really lie. It shows us our true if we truly do or not. And certainly, uncertainty is one of many trials that we're facing in this time. It's a big trial, and if you're somebody who's really struggling with your uncertainty, with having faith in God in this time, then that's a trial, and it is exposing a truth to you. It reminds me of this time. I'll give you two contrasting stories real quick. This one time, my wife and I and a bunch of our friends went up to Toronto. When I was living back in Buffalo, Toronto was just an hour north, a quick ride north, and before 9/11, it was very easy to get into Canada, and so we'd go up there quite often. And one time, a bunch of us went up there for a baseball game, Toronto Blue Jays, and we had a great time, blasted the game, and afterwards we didn't want the evening to end, so we decided to go gallivanting around the city. We're doing sightseeing and going into shops and restaurants. It was just a really, really fun time. And then the night started getting a little bit late, and we started getting tired, and it was time to go back to the car and head back down to Buffalo. Well, once we got to that point, we had realized that everybody thought that somebody else was keeping track of where we'd parked. And of course, nobody was, because everybody just assumed the guy or gal next to them was the one keeping track of that. And so we had no idea where we were. We're in this strange city. Nothing's familiar at this time. It went from fun and a good time to a little bit of panic. And there was certainly an overwhelming sense of uncertainty of where we were, uncertainty of how to get to where we wanted to go, uncertainty on what we were going to do. And as we were walking around trying to figure this out, desperation grew. And while it's not a really good idea when you're in a major city like that to kind of expose yourself as lost and vulnerable and tourists, the desperation just overwhelmed us. And we had discussed about maybe where we thought we could have parked. And we decided to just pull a stranger over and ask them if they knew where this location was, kind of explain our situation. And this was a colorful character. And he's jumped right at the opportunity to lead this pack of lost and vulnerable people. And he could have been leading us anywhere. I mean, we really had no idea. And I got to tell you that during that time with that person, as we're following him, I'm ripping off all kinds of questions to him about, where are you taking us? Are you sure it's this way? I thought it was this way. Let's not go down this poorly lit road. Let's go down this well lit street. I didn't trust this guy at all. I wasn't drawing near to him. I was keeping my distance. My posture was that of somebody that was on the defense. I was scared. I found no rest or security or assurance in the presence of this person whatsoever. It did me no good to be with him. It did not secure me. It did not give me that feeling of certainty or security or comfort. And luckily, praise God, he ended up leading us to where we wanted to go. He didn't have any ulterior motives, and or at least he didn't act on any that he might have had. And we got to our car, and we were able to go home, and it all ended up fine. Fast forward about a year or two later, one of my friends that I knew very well and hadn't talked to in several years because he moved to New York City invited me to come down to the city for a couple days. And I jumped at the opportunity. I love the city, and I hadn't seen him in a long time, and I was really excited to see him. And so I went down to the city, and he said, "Man, well, I'll show you around I'll take you everywhere. I've been down here long enough. I know where everything is, all the cool stuff, and offbeat places and delis and all that stuff." And so that's what I did, man. I just followed him. And here I was in a very, very similar situation that I was in Toronto, in that I'm in this strange place. I have no idea where I'm at. Nothing is familiar to me. In a situation like that, I mean, it could be impending calamity all around me. However, I didn't feel or tap into any of that worry or doubt or fear because I was with Him. Because I was drawing near Him. I had faith in Him. I was following Him. And as long as He was there, I was fine. I felt safe. And as we look at Hebrews 11:6, it says, "And without faith it is impossible to please Him. For whoever would draw near to God must believe that He exists and that He rewards those who seek Him." So in this time of uncertainty, as we all would admit that we have faith and go to God and are secure in God, this time of uncertainty for some of us is kind of exposing that we have more difficulty going to God in times of uncertainty than we thought or would care to admit. And I think it's good to be honest with that, confess that. Allow that truth to press into you and challenge us. Because what is the reason why I wouldn't go to God, that I'm not going to have my faith in God in this time of uncertainty, or to draw near? I see a lot of people trying to put their faith in everything and anything but God, and politics and money, and because they are losing money, they're gonna win the stock market, and they're hoping the stock market bounces back as they're putting, and just all this stuff or some people are just desperately waiting for things to return to normal. So that they can gain their certainty back. And it's almost as if to say, God, as soon as I have my certainty, then I will go back to having faith in you. Guys, that's not faith. That's not faith. 2 Corinthians reminds us that we walk by faith, not by sight. It isn't what I can see that allows me to have faith. It's what I don't see that causes me to have faith. The reason why I don't go to this God, one of the reasons may be that I don't know Him as well as I think that I do. So some of you don't know God as well as you think that you did. It's easy to think that we know God because we know things about Him, or that we're active in His church, or that we give to certain organizations, or that we're good people. And none of that has anything to do with knowing God. Maybe it's a situation, maybe you're in a situation where you've got to look at your prayer life. One of the reasons why the guy in Toronto was a stranger is because I'd never talked to him before. And the reason why they got my friend in New York City was a friend is because we had hours and hours built up of conversation. I mean, maybe you're not talking to God enough. Maybe you're not praying enough. Your heart isn't falling into the posture of prayer enough. And I would challenge you during this time of quarantine, during this time of uncertainty, that we step up our time in prayer, that we become people who are constantly in the posture of prayer, that we know that we have faith by the amount of times we are drawing near to God in prayer. Another reason that we might not know God is because we don't spend enough time with our Bibles. And again, I would challenge you to use this opportunity to spend more time learning about God by watching Him and listening to Him and reading about Him in the Scriptures to get the true value. Because when we talk about God, we mean the God of the Bible, not some higher power, some idea of God, but the actual living God of the Bible. And so this is a good opportunity to step up, add a couple more chapters to your reading regimen, or to even draw out a new plan, a new reading plan. Find a new reading plan off the internet that it kind of walks you through who God is, the attributes of God. And also there's wonderful books written about this on the subject. I think of A.W. Tozer's The Knowledge of the Holy. Wonderful, amazing. It's a very thin book, but it's packed masterly with incredible information and truths on who God is. Another book is Knowing God by J.I. Packer, another just phenomenal book of knowing who God is. We need to know who God is. If we're going to have faith in God, if we're going to draw near to God, see, I'm not going to have faith or draw near a stranger. It's not going to happen. But once I know you and I get to see you, especially, man, I trusted my friend who's wicked and a human, right? Fallible like I am. Man, when I start to see the majesty and really, really look at and know who God is, and his goodness and his love and his delight, that changes everything. He's easy to come to. Whether there's certainty or uncertainty, it doesn't matter. As long as he's in my life, I'm okay. But it starts by knowing who God is. So I challenge us all. I don't think anybody's receiving this message right now that can't use a little bit more of knowing who God is, to be able to put more faith in him, to grow more in the faith. And as James reminds us, this time of a trial is a good time that we consider this joy, because it gives us an opportunity to see where we're weak in our faith. And now with the quarantine, we have plenty of time to take the actions to step up and to get to know God better. Let's let all of this bring us all closer to God. Amen. God bless you. Talk to you.